Hello, everyone. As you're joining, let's give the other attendees a minute to wrap up connecting, and we'll get started. If you can confirm you're seeing my screen and hear my audio, please do so over the chat or Q&A. Thank you. Fantastic. All right. I think we're good to start. Okay, thanks everyone for joining today. My name is Guillermo Sang. I'm product specialist here at Techdinamics. And well, today we're going to share this webinar on sustainable packaging solutions in the world of e-commerce and shipping. Okay. As part of this webinar, we're going to have two sections. One of them is, well, reviewing several things from a conceptual standpoint. And we're also going to jump into TechSHIP portal to see where and how these settings we're going to discuss about are configured, okay? So this is a challenge that is typically faced by warehouses. And sometimes it's over the whole operation, sometimes it's over part of it. So the idea of this webinar is that you can have as a takeaway the knowledge of some features available in Techdinamics software, in this particular case, TechSHIP, to tackle some of these issues. Okay. So when it comes to the presentation, I have divided this in three parts. First of all, talking a little bit about picking and packing line manual processes downsides when it comes to having packaging sustainability and well, how you might have a let's say a non-efficient structure and how you can fix that using TechSHIP. Also, how that looks like when it comes to flat rate packaging usage scenarios, where even though you might have the will to make changes, you might be tied to using some options, in this case, packaging options. And also saving in packaging costs through cartonization, which at the end, depending on the case you have, could be the ultimate solution for you to be as efficient as possible when it comes to packaging, okay? So let's talk a little bit about the picking and packing line manual processes downsides. At the packing line, depending on how you operate with your WMS, if you already have weights and dimensions in there and you pass them into TechSHIP, or if you have basic information in the WMS and when the orders are being brought over into TechSHIP, you either use predefined boxes or devices, dimensioners and scales to define weights and dimensions for packaging. Okay, this in some cases could be optimal, but in most it won't. And let me explain why. First of all, when it comes to speed and time, um, it might not be optimal unless you automate it. Okay, so to comment on a few examples. If you don't have predefined boxes or the devices here, you'll either have to somehow in your WMS tell the system what package options you're using, weights and dimensions, to pass it into our system. The question there would be, are these fully accurate or not? Okay, that would be my first question when it comes to optimization. And my other question would be, are you making the best use of the packaging options you have? Or are you being wasteful of way too much empty space within your packaging options? This obviously is dependent in two different or relies in two different bases. One of them is that somehow you previously have that information at hand, or you can access to that kind of information. And then the other issue would be the variety of packaging options you have, right? Now, should you have the proper variety of options to not be wasteful in terms of empty space within the boxes as you pack orders, the other issue remains on the side of time. How much time does it take to the packer at the packing line to actually choose the proper or most efficient way to package to be efficient in terms of package size, not be wasteful in that sense, and also in the time that takes, right? That decision time of taking a look at the SKUs or the bin, taking a look at which options or boxes I have, and getting to use the right one, okay? Which draws to the most optimal case. So again, in some cases, some of these elements could be under our control. In some cases, they might not, okay? Now, if we were to have a solution for this kind of scenario, cartonization is the best way to go. But the thing is that it doesn't or could not be useful for every case, right? If these would be generic shipments, right, without any flat rate services, the packaging size and weight could basically be anything from an envelope to a pallet, because as long as you provide the accurate weights and dimensions to the carrier, you're going to get an accurate rate. But if you don't, well, you might be hit by penalties when you get your invoices, hidden charges, those sort of elements you don't want at the end when it comes to handling the warehouse and the tight finances sometimes. So the idea behind this is that you are the most precise or you take the most precise way as possible within your possibilities, okay? So from a usability standpoint, having predefined boxes or devices, dimensional scales, over just typing things in or having dummy information, or let's say as precise as possible, but you're not so sure information coming from the WMS, this is still a good option, having these devices and predefined boxes. It saves time. It takes human error in most part out of the equation, typos or misconfigurations, okay? But again, even though it's a step forward, it's not the whole race to being fully optimized, okay? Now, what happens when you are using flat rate packaging, okay? In that case, even though you might want to optimize as much as you can, the challenge here remains that you're tied to what the carriers require from you for you or for the shipments to be applicable for flat rates. First of all, what you have is branded packaging, okay? So the fact of having branded packaging forces you to stick to what the carriers determine as valid and official packaging options, okay? And depending on the SKUs or the items that you're shipping and the packaging options that the carrier allows you to use is how optimal it could be on your end, or how optimal you could go when it comes to picking the right packaging option and being as less wasteful as possible when it comes to empty space. In some cases, you could get to an optimal point where you end up using the proper type of packaging and there's no wasted space inside. And in some cases, you might not, okay? But in this case, as you import the order into TechSHIP, you're going to use predefined boxes tied to the ones that the carrier has allowed you to use. For example, in UPS, a 10 kilo box or 25 kilo box, FedEx, flat, small, medium, large, same with USPS, flat rate boxes, okay? And but in this case, again, you can go as far as you can within the possibilities you are tied to. Okay. And then when it comes to cartonization, this is where you make the most out of it, because with cartonization, you have three different algorithms to have the system try and optimize as much as it can. Not only how SKUs are going to fit the packaging options you have, um, but also which types of boxes could or should be used, and detect gaps that you might have within your own packaging options that might be interesting to explore. Say, for example, you're processing a lot of orders with a medium box and large box, and you realize that your medium boxes are full, but your large boxes are sometimes full, sometimes not. But it's way too much for a medium box and not enough for a large one. So you might detect a gap that you have in there, and try to find whatever packaging option can fill the gap, so you can optimize a step further. Okay. Cartonization, as such, has multiple benefits, from ranging, as it says over here, from costs to performance. But the most relevant are to reduce the unnecessary packaging and shipping costs. Okay. The fact of not being wasteful when it comes to packaging, you might not notice it at one box, but when you're shipping 1,000, I guarantee that you're going to take a look at your numbers and realize how it affects budget, because optimization in this sense can lead to huge savings, especially if you have really high volume. Also, it's faster and it's more efficient packing. Why? Because the whoever is at the packing line doesn't have to play a guessing game of what items I have to fit in the boxes that I have available, and which box should I pick. If it's a medium or an extra large or a huge box, it doesn't matter. The system is going to figure it out and pick the most efficient option based on the parameters you have pre-configured and told the system how and what to use. Also, well, increase profitability by boosting performance, because there's a lot of time that won't be wasted thinking or making mistakes and repacking at the packing line. So you can go, let's say, if we would have a graph, find the optimal point between, or the optimal balance between space usage and speed at the time of processing. Okay. And then you have save packaging based on weight capabilities. Okay. So this is another really important point that sometimes it's either missed or underestimated. And it really depends on the nature of the SKUs you're shipping. But having the capability to configure heavy duty boxes. So maybe I have a medium box, but I have a variant for heavy duty, which much thicker wall or a reinforced bottom. So I can put SKUs in there and take much more weight than a regular packaging option. That might end up in a scenario where the items are dropped or damaged, and you don't want that to happen, right? So the fact of having cartonization also as a guard for weight and proper weights and supported weights for the shipping options, sorry, for the carton options, allows you to ship much in a much easier and safer way. Okay. So let's do it. Let's jump into a TechSHIP portal and review each one of these scenarios. Okay, let's go. So over here, I'm at the TechSHIP portal. I'm going to go to maintenance clients, so we can take a look at the client, and we can take a look at the shipping options that we have. Okay, we're going to review packaging options, cartonization, flat rates, and at the desktop client, we're also going to review the configuration for devices. Okay, let's start from the most basic scenario. Okay, let me update over here just a second. There we go. Oh, okay, just a second. Perfect. So if I'm processing orders one by one, TechSHIP desktop client is the way to go. Now over here, if I bring an order over, all right. Okay, let's see. Let's bring one of these orders. Let's preview. We have information coming from the WMS. Okay. And down here, we have the cartons. As you can see, I have a 12 by 24 by 12 2-pound package. All right. Now, this information is coming from the WMS. Maybe there could be inaccuracies in this. Maybe the package is not 12 by 24 by 12. Maybe it's 1205. Maybe it's 2403, right? Or up or down, just a few. It could be a little bit bigger or smaller than the weight entered at the system. Okay. This could be inefficient in terms of not properly reporting to the carrier and getting hit with additional charges, right? So what I could do is set up a dimensioner or set up predefined boxes and say, well, I'm not going to pack this in a 12 by 24 by 12 because I'm taking a look at the bin and I take a look at this, thinking about a medium box, and I know that I'm not going to fit the SKUs within the bin in a medium box as it was predefined at the WMS. By using a predefined box, I'm standardizing here. I'm switching to a large box. So as I click over here, I'm getting these new dimensions in a new way. Okay. And then I can feel comfortable into packing everything, processing the order, printing the label, etc., etc. But I'm able to steer away from what the WMS said in the beginning if that was inaccurate. Okay. Now, again, what would happen? This happens when you have predefined boxes. Okay. What happens if you don't? What happens is that if the WMS says 12 by 24 by 12, and you look at the box, you're shipping the item as such, and the dimensions are quite there, but not that much. In that case, if I would have a dimensioner, for example, it would be efficient. I just put the box in the dimensioner or a repack, and then press scale. When I press scale, if I have a scale and a dimensioner connected to it, TechSHIP is going to go to the device and try to get the exact weight and dimensions for that package. Okay. Now the question still remains: is that the most efficient way to package? Are you wasting packaging space when shipping things that way? Okay. And you won't be able to solve it through here. What you will be able to do is provide exact and precise dimensions and weights to the carrier, but no more than that. So that's why it's important to take that into account. That even though this is a step forward, there are many other steps that could be taken to make this much more efficient. When it comes to how to set it up, you can go to settings over here and you can get to choose the devices that you connect. Okay, so if I use dimensioner model, let's say I'm using the Tricolapse, okay, and my scale is a Mettler Toledo, and I have it connected to Tricolapse, I would set it up this way. Okay, the scale talks to the dimensioner to the scale, and both things are provided by through the Tricolapse connection in this case. Okay, but again, this is one scenario, not the most efficient, but surely much more efficient than just passing whatever is coming from the WMS and packing it that way. If there is a clear representation in the physical world that it's not going to work the way it was expected. Okay. Now, having predefined boxes, which is the next level, is useful. Okay. In this case, I only have this 3, but you can have as many as you need. And you don't need to choose them from here as well. You can perfectly scan those there for these packaging options. You can download the barcodes for that. Let me see if I have some here. Let me download this file. Let me show it to you. So over here, as you can see, you have actions, start packing, finalize box scale, and then you have add a box, a medium one, a large one, the default or regular one. You can just tick all these pages at the packing line, and you don't need to enter anything manually. You just scan, and you're good to go. Okay. When you define these predefined boxes, the only thing you need to do is just add the box, enter the values over here, name, dimensions, thickness and packaging weight as the empty packaging, and you'll be good to go. You don't need anything else if you're going to use a basic um, box structure. And you can add as many as you need, okay? Now, when it comes to cartonization, we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. There are more things that you need to set up. But in this case, if you want to have predefined boxes available, you could perfectly do so quite fast. It's just a matter of setting these elements up, and that's it. Even when it comes to names, you can name them whatever you want. In this case, it's default, large 24, medium 24, but it could be an actual name of the box, could be just the dimensions, 24 by 12 by 12, right? Could be whatever helps you realize that that's a packaging option that you want to use. Okay. One important thing about boxes here is that this is under the realm of a client. What did this mean? This means that at the time of defining the boxes, if you have clients that use some type of packaging options and others that use a whole different set of packaging options, you could perfectly do so. Okay. You define these at a client level. So if you have one client which ships, let's say electronics, right? Small electronics, headphones, laptops, that kind of thing. We're not talking about a laser printer, for example, right? You could perfectly have envelopes, an envelope and let's say a couple of medium and small boxes, right? But if you have I don't know, a client which ships car parts, right, or spare parts for vehicles in general, in that case, most likely the size of the boxes are going to be much different. Some things you might ship in an envelope, others you might need to ship in a pallet, right? So in that case, you just add them over here so you can quickly select them at the desktop client or quickly assign them as you import batches into TechSHIP. When you do batch imports, let me show you so we can wrap up assigning these boxes. You can do something like this. Let's say I bring a batch in. I'm going to refresh so we can preview the information that's coming from the WMS. Let's give it a moment. There we go. As you can see, only one of the boxes has dimensions, 24 by 24 by 24. The other ones don't. And the weights they have could be dummy weights or not. Let's trust that these are. But if I wanted to repack everything, it's like, no, this batch is not 24 by 24. Someone made a mistake. And we're going to use medium boxes. You just check it from here, set box. And as you can see, the box applies to every single order which is selected. In this case, it's just 7. But if you would have 700, you could perfectly assign the same box to the 700 without the hassle of doing that at the WMS. You can perfectly do it here. Once you're ready to go, you import and process, and that's it. You don't have to worry about anything else. The orders are going to be fully brought in from WMS using the packaging options you just chose. In this case, for example, it's just hitting UPS, trying to process the orders. Okay. So that's how we handle predefined boxes. Now, how does the flat rate branded boxes scenario work under this structure? When you handle branded packaging, okay, UPS, FedEx, DHL, USPS, right? You could apply for flat rates. And when it comes to flat rates, it's really important that at the time of processing the order, the system properly reports to the carrier as using a branded packaging option. Okay, and let me explain it this way to give you a graphical example. if you physically go to a post office right now, let's say USPS, right? And you want to ship some gifts to a family member, right? You want to use flat rate. You have I don't know, a group of items that fit into a medium flat rate box, right? So you're gonna physically go, someone's gonna be at the counter, and you're gonna say, "Hi, I want to ship these items on a flat rate box," right? So the person's gonna pick it from the shelf. You're gonna pack your things. You're gonna weigh it. You're gonna print the label, and it's good to go. And no one is gonna question if you are applicable or not for flat rates, because there's a human there seeing and physically picking the flat rate box, right? And let's imagine the same scenario. Let's rewind, and instead of you choosing the box at the USPS office, you bring the box from home, plain cardboard, no branding, no anything, that has the same dimensions as the medium flat rate box. You're gonna walk with that in. The person at the counter is gonna say, "Okay, you want to ship that? Yes, let's weigh it." And you're not gonna get the flat rate. You're gonna get the regular rate. Why? Because your packaging is generic. It's not a USPS packaging applicable for flat rates. Okay, so you might complain if you want to, but unless you pick the right box, the medium rate flat, the medium flat rate box branded from USPS, you're not going to get access to the flat rates. Okay, same thing happens system wise. When you process an order through TechSHIP, you need to declare the proper packaging type from the account that you're using. Okay, and this is really important, because if you make this mistake, you're going to be paying for regular rates instead of flat rates every time. You need to report the system on USPS side, and over here I'm quoting USPS, but it could be UPS, FedEx, any carrier that provides a flat rate program. Okay, their system needs to know, hey, it matches the dimensions, it complies with the weight threshold, and it's also a branded packaging option. That's the only way their system can tell that you're using the branded official packaging option for you to get access to the flat rates. To do that, it's really simple. What you would do here, let me just open this, for example, this UPS one. There's an option for package type. And over here, when you click on it, you're going to have not set, which is, or customer supply package, which is an unbranded generic packaging option, or you could have specific options. For example, this UPS 10 kilo box, right? Or if I would go to USPS, since we were mentioning it, let's go to it. Over here, would have package type, medium flat rate box. And if I process my orders this way, and obviously if the if the measurements match and my shipment is within the weight thresholds for that service, I'm gonna get flat rates from the carrier. Okay. For this, you can do this if you want to specifically tie it to one package option. Maybe you're saying, if I configure it this way, what I'm telling the system is every shipment I handle through this account is going to use a medium flat rate box. Not the envelope, the small or the large one, is a medium flat rate box. So you're binding yourself to that specific shipping option. Most likely that is not the scenario. I have seen some cases where this has happened, but typically not. And you would require to have a mapped box name. What does that mean? It means that you need to set up your boxes and tell the system how you're going to call them. So if you use this option, you're going to have a variable packaging type. Who's going to dictate which packaging type is going to be used? On one end, whatever comes from the WMS, and on the other end, based on that, the mapping done on TechSHIP side. Okay, So in the carrier section, let me quickly go there. Grab USPS, package type mappings, okay. Under carriers and package type mappings, I'm going to tell the system what package type should TechSHIP use. Let's say a medium flat rate box, right? And over here, how I'm calling it in the WMS. If there's a match between what I'm passing as a packaging option from the WMS and the name I put here, then TechSHIP is going to say, oh, okay, you're trying to ship through a medium flat rate box. Okay, so let's say USPS medium flat rate box. Let's say we call it this way in the WMS. Okay, so this package type mappings table is the one that number one reads from the WMS, number two compares a match here, and number three, if it matches, it sends this to the carrier. For number four, what should be set up is what I just showed you, which is at the carrier option section, the package type should be not a fixed option here, but mapped box name. It's going to go to this table, see what you have set up over here, check what you're sending from the WMS, and do the proper mapping. Okay, in this case, for example, we have a flat rate envelope, which is FRE1, and then we have a regional rate box A, which we should be getting from the WMS as rate A box. Okay, this is a way you can make packaging for flat rates dynamic. Okay, this might help you optimize a lot, might help you save a lot of money as well on rates. But again, from a package usage efficiency perspective, you might not have reached full optimization. Okay, that is reached at the end through cartonization. So let's take a few minutes to go through cartonization, how it works, and how we set it up. Within each client, because cartonization is a feature available for TechSHIP Enterprise, TechSHIP Plus on demand, it allows you to tell the system how the carton import mode should work if you're not going to use what you have in the WMS. In this case, for example, I could use cartonization. If I choose cartonization, what TechSHIP is going to do when it imports orders from the WMS is ignore what it has there and try to repack what you have in there based on three pieces of information. First of all, the algorithm which should be used. Second of all, the available boxes. And third of all, and to wrap it up, the items that you have available in the system. So the way it works is the following. First, we state over here that we want to cartonize, and we choose the algorithm. Okay, we have three algorithms: basic with rotation, and EBA fit. Okay, just as a quick mention to the definition of these, basic is just does it fit, does it not. Basic with rotation tries to make a more efficient use of the space by rotating some of these SKUs. Maybe they don't fit standing up, maybe they fit flat, maybe they fit in a different position than just flat at the bottom and piling them up, right? And then we have EBA fit, which does basic with rotation with a few more tweaks and also shows you step by step how you should do it. Okay. And well, let's choose EBA fit in this case so I can show you details later. Once I have defined this, what I need to do is tell the system which boxes and how many of these in terms of models I have available. And at the time of defining these, it's not going to be enough to just tell the system the name, dimensions, thickness, and the packaging weight. I also need to tell the system the maximum volume the box has in cubic inches and a few more parameters for cartonization. For example, the minimum volume of utilization percentage I want, the minimum and maximum weight the box should and can take. Okay, so in this case, for example, this would be a heavy duty box Obviously, this is an example, right? 200 pounds in a medium box, that's 30, okay? But just for the sake of example, we have it this way. So in this case, I have a minimum volume utilization of 50%. I would assume in this case that either the SKUs are quite small, and I typically ship big quantities of them, or that I'm just being wasteful, because 50% is a lot of wasted space. In this case, if I use 50% minimum volume utilization, um, I could have even one or two items, and if I use the 51% of the box, it's gonna go through. I'm wasting half of the box's space setting up this way. Sometimes you might need to do it that way, depending on what you ship and how, right? Or how many packaging options you have. But obviously, you want this to be as close as 100%, depending on what you're shipping, right? Let me give you a brief example. If I ship small electronics, the chances that I can have a higher minimum volume utilization is quite high. It could be safe to say that if I'm shipping peripherals, for example, right? Headphones, mice, flash drives, tablets, I don't know, maybe some, I don't know, cartridges, that kind of thing, right? Phones, even, not only peripherals, but devices as well, keyboards, right? I could play around enough when it comes to optimizing space within the cartons to make things fit properly and have a minimum volume utilization of 90%. Why? Because if I think about rotating things inside of the box and piling things up in different ways, I might get it that way. Now, if I'm talking about car spare parts, or if I'm talking about, I don't know, diving equipment, typically the SKUs are going to be bulky, right? And even though I could have, let's say, two alternators that might fit in this size, they might not be, the box might not be able to take the weight. So that's one parameter that is important to take into account. Or if it would be space, maybe I could fit one alternator and have quite some more space for that. But since the order only has two alternators, I need to have them in separate boxes and be a little bit more wasteful, right? I either use two separate medium boxes or I use a large or an extra large box, right? But just the fact of having these big items doesn't let me, regardless if I rotate them, if I stack them up differently, it's not going to make a difference into optimizing the space. So again, for smaller SKUs, you could perfectly say, I want this minimum volume utilization, but the bigger the SKUs, most likely this percentage is going to go down. It's basically your strictness level at the time of telling the system, hey, you either try to fit these things no matter what, or there is some room for improvement, and then maybe, well, try to find, if I have a pattern, again, as I explained in the very beginning of the session, a pattern of medium boxes full and large boxes typically quite unused up to some percentage, maybe I need something in the middle, like an extra medium box or a mini large box or something like that, but something in between that covers for that gap. Okay. Well, so this is quite important for cartonization: minimum volume utilization and the max merge weight, because you might fit the SKUs, but if the box can't take it, you're gonna have to pick them up. Okay. And the third pillar for cartonization is the items. Okay. You can export the SKUs from your WMS and push them here via file. Some WMSs support direct one-click synchronization. It's really up to the case of what system you're using. But TechSHIP needs to know what SKUs you have under this client. And if you access the information here, you're going to find that you have the SKU and the SKU code and the description. Okay, this is for the system to map and for it to display as well. But this is really important as well for the system. The system needs to know the DIMs and the weight. Why? Because it's going to rotate these within the packaging options, and it's going to add the weight to see if the weight is supported based on the order, right? Or if it should be splitted, or if there's not just a packaging option available and it needs something else for it to be properly shipped. But again, for each SKU, you need to provide a code, a description, weight, length, and width and height as well. Once you got that, in this case, we have 4 SKUs. When you import orders, let me show you how this looks like. We already saw what the system brought in. Let me do rate shopping here. We're not going to process, but we're going to take a look at the packaging options. This is what's coming from the WMS. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 orders. Okay. And for those 6 orders, what's coming through is this weight: 2 pounds, 2 pounds, 18, 6, 3, and 6. And only one of the orders has carton dimension information. This looks inaccurate. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is I'm going to, in this case, instead of doing it at the client level, the way you should in your environment, I'm just going to switch it on the fly here, so you can get to see how this looks like. Okay, the difference between what's coming from the WMS and the reality of everything, weight, and how it should be packed. So let's refresh here, and this is how it looks like. You'll see the added weight of the SKUs here with the proper information. In this case, this 2 pounds ended up being 32, something you don't want to have, you don't want happening at your packing line. And it was packed in a 12 by 24 by 12 box. Okay, this order, the Royal Paulson order, is the most notable one. Why? Because it was originally proposed by the WMS as 1 box. While here, as you can see, is 4 boxes. And out of those 4 boxes, we have 2 large boxes and 2 medium boxes. One of them weighing 42 pounds, which is a lot compared to the other ones. Okay, so we have really lightweight but high volume items in some of these boxes, and some low volume but high weight items in this second carton. Okay, and the other ones just ended up being in medium and small boxes, large boxes as well. So let's import and see how this looks like. Let's remember this one, the Royal Paulson one. We're going to take a look inside on how the system organized the SKUs and the cartons. All right, we're going to take a look at the first one just for the sake of example. This, which didn't have a dimension and was originally 2 pounds. The way you can see how it was cartonized is editing the order. You go to packaging. Over here you can get to see medium box, dimensions 12 by 24 by 12, 32 pounds. If you click in this button, you can see which SKUs are in here. Okay, 3 units of SKU 1, 1 unit of SKU 2. Okay, but there's a button for view packing. And what this is going to show is a 3D representation of the carton, and it's going to show a step back and forth control, so you can see how you should pack the SKUs within this order. In this case, as you can see, item 1 is a bulky one. Item 3, I think it was, is smaller, but it adds more on weight. So take that into account. This is how TechSHIP organized it, so you can fit. Okay. Let's take a look at how the second one, which ended up with 4 cartons, looks like. As you can see, each carton is separated individually. This one, for example, has 2 units of item 3. Let's take a look at view packing. This is a square box, and it's a perfect fit. Okay. In this case, no waste whatsoever when it comes to packing space. Let's take a look at this one. Again, same case. This has 2 units of item 3, same as here. Let's see how it solved the other ones. We have some item 1s out there. and one item 2. Rectangular box as well. So we have one item 2, which was the big one, and then we have small ones with 100% usage as well, full optimization. Let's take a look at this one. Rectangular box, and in this case, too big. Okay. So as you can see, this particular one had no waste whatsoever. Our packaging options met with the proper sizes of the SKUs when it came to SKU to packaging option relation. Now, you could have cases where you have something like this, right? This particular order only had 2 SKUs. The height, the width was good, but the height was not, was just too big for the medium box. So the system had to pick a large box because of the height. And as you can see, there's a 50% waste on this particular package, okay? The cartonization algorithm will try to do as much as it can, but sometimes the conjunction between these two is not the best one. This is a really good case as well. It's about 60% usage. But the thing is that I mean, you have 4 of these, and then you have these other SKUs, the small ones on top. If I would have to fit this in a rectangular box, I wouldn't be able to because of the height. So that's the thing. It's important that you properly configure the items, the algorithm, and the boxes. Now, the good news about cartonization is that I don't have to think about, as a packer at the packing line, what I should or should not use, because within the label that you're printing. Let me try to reach up over here. This is a test environment. I'm not sure that we might get rates for this batch, but let's give it a try. But what I mean is that as part of the packing slip, because you're gonna get courier labels for each one of the boxes when you process the order. But when it comes to the packing slips, you could have packing slips that they have the box type together with the SKU list printed in the packing list. So I don't have to sit down and try to play Tetris with this 25 SKUs and 4 boxes. Each label is going to tell me, okay, SKU 1, 3 units, box A. SKU 1, 2 units. SKU 2, 4 units. Box C, right? And I don't need to do the heavy thinking and try to figure out how it's going to look like, okay? I can perfectly do it this way. In this particular case, these packing slips don't have it configured. Okay, well, in fact, this client wasn't properly set up for cartonization as such. We set it up on the fly. But what I want to point out is where you would be able to see this information. Because if you printed this, I would see the packing slip this way. Oh, okay, I need to pack 3 of item 1, 1 of item 2. That's cool. And down here, we can show medium box 24, okay, which is the name of the box that we're using. So as a packer, it's going to be super simple to me. I'm going to have a whole bunch of SKUs. I'm going to have a few labels. And the only thing I need to do is grab the box, put the ones that should at the right place, and that's it. If the fit is too tight and you reach really good optimization, but the packing, the packer and the rotation and packing from the cartonization algorithm is too exotic to call it somehow, right? It try to fit things in let's say in an unconventional way. Still the packer can perfectly go to techSHIP, a web client, and see how the system figured it out step by step, right? So worst case scenario, the solution is already there if the packer cannot figure it out. So yes, this is how you become, on one side, environmentally sustainable because you're making the best out of your packaging options, not being wasteful, and being as efficient as possible in terms of the space that you use within each one of your packagings. And at the same time, you're going to save money because in the end, you're going to use, first of all, less packing material. Second of all, You're going to provide precise dimensions and weights to the carrier at the time of using these. And also, you're going to perform better at the packing line, having better productivity, because you won't have people making mistakes at the packing line, or you won't have people trying to figure out a human Tetris of SKUs, boxes, and labels of what should go where, how, and what. Okay. So, well, with this, we conclude what we wanted to share with you in this webinar. If you have any questions or comments, I'm opening the Q&A section. Feel free to type anything in there. I'm going to give you 1 minute to write any questions or comments you might have. And if we don't have any, we'll be wrapping up the session. Just a second, I'm going to in the meantime, I'm going to move back and clean up these annotations so we can have a clean working environment. Okay, there we go. And we'll move back to here. Just as a reminder, these elements that we have seen are set up at a client level. So each client could have their individual and isolated configurations from other clients you might have. You might have one client for which you use regular cartoning per month. You might have one client for which you don't ship flat rate, so on and so forth. Okay, but that's the whole idea. Okay, no questions or doubts. So thank you. Thank you for joining and sharing this time with us. I hope that this session has been productive and that you can make the best out of the TechSHIP features that you have available. Okay, thank you for joining us. There's going to be a recording of this webinar uploaded to our channel. So subscribe and turn the notifications on so you can be notified of updates and new uploads that we have made. That we will make. And if any of your teammates wasn't able to attend today, feel free to review it online at our channel. All right. Have a wonderful day and thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.